Our fears of abandonment and being unsafe in childhood, especially with certain childhood stories, can really set us up to have complex PTSD as adults. And today's video is about emotional flashbacks. I just referenced them in this video, but what I want you to know is that there is a way to begin to deal with this now, before I even make more videos on helping you understand where it came from, what the terms are. I want to make this video because I'm hoping to keep going deeper into our stories of relationships and attachment and childhood, and I want you to have these tools today, all right? So before I get started, my name is Dr. Kim Sage. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and I hope you will consider subscribing and hitting the bell, and that way you'll get notified when I post new videos, which I'm trying to do more regularly, but not gonna lie, I am in the midst of the California fires and COVID, and like you, it's a lot to manage, and so I'm trying to make these videos as quickly as possible, but I really do want you to have some tools at your disposal today. Now, let me just say this, that emotional flashbacks are really the sort of feelings we have that bring us back to states in childhood where we felt abandoned, afraid, unsafe, ashamed, out of control, overwhelmed, and these layers of toxic shame and fear and abandonment, we had to survive in childhood with all of these and keep going. And that actually is true for us today as adults. But we often still hold on to and very much get triggered into those feeling states of childhood. And I'll make another video soon on what can trigger that and the triggers. They can be anything and everything. At the core, it is often our need to get it right, to protect ourselves, to connect with our caregivers in a way that kept us safe, but often didn't. And we can often become really hard on ourselves as a way to sort of like, I have to survive this. And as I always say, in our childhoods, we are powerless to do anything but survive. But as we become adults, we can often still find our brains floating back to those times in childhood. And so really what this is that as a result of prolonged trauma, and remember this can be everything from physical, sexual, emotional abuse to just, consistent unstable, toxic parenting, traumatic events in childhood that lingered. It can be anything that really sets us up to have these destabilizing states that often lead back to feelings of being out of control, powerless, fear of being hurt or wounded or abandoned, and feeling ashamed of who we are at our core. There's a contempt that often happens from parents who can be toxic towards kids. This sort of I love you, I hate you, which often goes back to borderline and or narcissism. But the core of that is that not being safe and liked and accepted and attuned to can often create these wounds, right? So what happens with emotional flashbacks is that we're not necessarily having a vision of an accident or a memory, although we can. It's often a visual-less feeling. And so it can feel like panic, worry, fear, anxiety, sadness, grief, longing. And these often can just come out of nowhere. We just sort of going along in our day, or we wake up this way, and we don't necessarily know in the moment. We just don't feel, like we're ourselves. We feel like we've just been transported somewhere else. But the problem is, when we're being transported, we often don't even know it. It takes sometimes a little bit to realize, like, God, why am I feeling this way, or what's going on? And so I want you to know that that is where we're going to start. So if you're a person who has had a difficult childhood, you had a parent or parents who were toxic or out of control or dangerous, or just generally, they yelled a lot, they weren't happy in their marriage. It doesn't have to be this extreme end of abuse. It can be this sort of, pervasive way of having a parent who doesn't show up for you, who criticizes you, who just makes you feel at your core that you're not safe and valued and seen. And so what happens is you're going along and you have a feeling, and it often can be this moodiness and you just don't know what that's about. What I want you to begin to do is to understand that if you can say, yeah, I had some childhood stuff, and as you start talking about it, I don't really want to, honor that or acknowledge it, but yeah, it's true. Yeah, I have these moods sometimes, or I just feel completely like depleted, or I feel completely, jacked up and anxious, and I don't know why. I feel like the whole weight of the world's on my shoulders, or I just feel sapped and drained, and once again, like I have to do everything, and it's always on me, and I can't even do it. this is the video for you, right? So emotional flashbacks are a part of CPTSD, of complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and they really are these regressions. I want you to think of them as a regression back to a feeling you had in childhood. In this video also, I talked about how you can come through the door, let's say, and maybe the time of day when your mom or dad was really angry was the dinner time. And you come in the door at dinner time yourself, you're exhausted, you're tired, your kids haven't done their chores, or you feel like you didn't get all your work done, and you come in the door and you just all of a sudden you were in a kind of okay mood, leaving work, you were kind of doing fine. You walk in the door and you feel completely hijacked as you come in the door and the dog's pooped on the rug and the dishes are undone and no one took care of the things they were supposed to, and you just get flooded with, oh my God, everything's out of control, the house is a mess, I feel chaotic inside, it's all my fault, I didn't do it right, I have to fix it all. And something like that can pull you back. Now it can also be just waking up in a bad mood, feeling sad, feeling overwhelmed. So what can you do about it? Really 3 things I want you to start to do, okay? They are get into your feelings, get into your body, and get into your head. This is how we start to deal with it. If you're watching these videos I make, you might find that after you watch a video you're triggered, or while I'm saying something you're triggered. I want you to begin to use these tools. Get in your body, get in your feelings, get in your head, okay? So the first one really is get into your feelings. I want you to begin to understand and recognize the feeling of being panicked inside, or full of grief, full of sadness, full of longing or shame. Learn to identify what those feelings are, because you cannot begin to change this behavior until you recognize it for what it is. And so these do feel like, I feel overwhelmed, I feel really sad, I have too much to do, I'm afraid, I'm panicking. It can be any of those feelings. You want to begin to identify those. And so what you want to do is say to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm in the midst of feeling fill in the blank. I can feel that I'm panicked. I can feel overwhelmed. I feel really stressed. I feel really sad. And I just want to honor that I'm feeling that way. But I am no longer a child and I don't need to feel this way right now. This is an old feeling that doesn't belong to me today. Maybe it's trying to tell me something, but the odds are this is an old feeling in childhood when I was powerless, when I was afraid of abandonment or fear or being neglected. And that's the first part. Recognize the feeling. Get into the feeling and then say to yourself, this is an old feeling. This is not a current feeling. It doesn't belong to me right now. And then as you say that to yourself, and I want you to access and connect to, okay, what would an ideal loving parent say to me right now with this feeling? A loving parent would say, it's okay, honey. You're okay. You can handle it. I'll be here to help you. You've got this. Don't worry. Or I understand why you feel overwhelmed right now. I understand why you feel sad right now. It's okay. I'm here. It is that loving sort of reparenting I want you to start to get into, and I'll talk more about this in other videos. But talk to yourself with loving compassion and honor the feeling, and also try to identify it and distance yourself in saying that this is an old feeling. This belongs to childhood when I had no power, but I do today. The second step is get into your body quickly. So this will happen more quickly as you get more practice at it. But you're acknowledging the feeling, you're giving yourself self-love, you're recognizing that this is an old feeling, and you're quickly going into a 4x4 or 4 square breathing technique, right? This is where you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you exhale, and I say sigh, you ha for 4, and you pause for 4. So what this looks like is an inhale for 4, holding it, big sigh, exhale, and pause for 4 times. Don't do it while you're driving. If you don't like the 4 square breathing, then do any kind of deep breathing, but you want to breathe in for a few seconds and pause, and then deeply sigh and exhale. What we're doing is we are connecting to our nervous system. This is what I also said in this video about how trauma and childhood and wounding parents also affect our body. And I'm going to go into a whole video series on polyvagal theory, but I want you to know that understanding that we have to quickly go from our feelings into our body, into breathing is really important. You can do progressive muscle relaxation, but you want to begin to connect with, what does it feel like in my body when I'm feeling those feelings? I feel panicked, my chest is tight, my stomach hurts, my head is hurting. And start to send loving, calming, body, mindful energy to calm that. The last thing you want to do is get into your head, right? So you've acknowledged the feelings, you've given yourself love, you've distanced yourself from what they are. You've soothed your body, you're focusing on calming and breathing and letting maybe some kind of lighter energy, as I made in this video on container exercise, pour into that part of your body. And now you want to use your cognitive abilities, right? This is under your classic kind of CBT kind of thoughts. You want to say to yourself, I don't have to own these feelings. They don't belong to me. These are old feelings from childhood. And I am going to say, no, you're not going to go down this road. You can handle this. Go make a list. Go make that phone call. Go take some action. Go control what you can. Go do whatever you need to do that you can do right now to reduce these feelings. Let's say in the example of coming in the door and I am feeling flooded and I see the house is a mess and the dog pooped on the rug and the kitchen isn't done. I want to quickly acknowledge what I'm feeling. I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to decide in that moment, okay, I can't clean it all right now, but I can prioritize what I'm going to do. I can hopefully clean up the dog stuff. I can start to put the dishes away. I can go ask my kids or my partner or whoever I have to help me. I have tools at my disposal to solve this problem. You want to really think about how to solve the problem and also discourage yourself from staying on that destructive thought or emotional path. And begin to access these tools. Feel free to post more down below if you have some more ideas, but let me know how it works and we will keep going on this journey. Thanks so much for watching and please don't forget to subscribe and I will see you next time. Bye guys, stay safe. Thanks so much. Bye.